Hey everybody, it's Felisa. This is going to be another entry into AVADIM, a video a day in May. It's also entry into Soulful Saturday. I had a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. We'll see what happens when I start talking, as per usual. But I did want to talk about, I just came back from Vegas and just celebrated my 50th, and so I'm so grateful and so blessed to be able to do that. But I was talking to a young lady at work this week, I want to say, and I have a tendency to I don't know, have many impromptu counseling sessions with people. I don't mean to. I just think, I've often referred to myself as having a true confession face, which, I mean, perfect strangers will come up to me and just tell me their whole life story. It's been that way my whole entire life. Mm-hmm. I don't know why exactly. And I used to be like, Lord, I just really want to get my stuff and go. Now I recognize that it's a reason, that happens, and that it's a gift, even though I don't necessarily appreciate it all the time. But I do like to try and stop and give people the space and the ability to purge if they need to do that, because I don't know what people are carrying, and if I can be a source of encouragement and a source of comfort and a source of, just humanity for people, I want to do that, and I want to be able to do that with grace. So anyway, I was checking on one of my staff members who have been out, and we just started to have a conversation about not necessarily mental health, but in that way, but just kind of like taking care of your psyche and refreshing and rejuvenating and all that kind of stuff. And some kind of way we started to talk about the nature of betrayal and what happens when a member of your tribe goes rogue or something happens. And I told her, because she said that she was having a difficult time getting through it, and she said it feels like a breakup, and she said it feels even worse than a breakup. And I said that's because it is. And, that's something that I had gone through a few years ago with one of my very, very best girlfriends. And I don't know that I ever recovered from that. I'm not kidding. People, I don't think, really understand what it's like in the sisterhood. When you really, and I'm someone who was an only child. And because I'm an only child, I take my sister friend relationships extremely seriously. So, my girlfriends are my sisters. Like, I would kill somebody over them. Like, I would go to bat for them. It's nothing that they can ask me to do that I wouldn't try to do if it's within any realm of possibility of getting that done. That's just the way that I operate. And so when I had the situation a few years ago, I didn't really know how to process it. This was someone who I was extremely close to, someone that, we were in ministry together, and like, this was my girl, even to the point where we wound up filing for divorce at the same time. We couldn't convince anybody that we did not, like, who plans that? Like, that's sick and twisted. But we were just a source of support, one for each other. There were some things that had gone on behind the scenes at that ministry, and some very, very heinous things that occurred as time went on. And I don't know, I remained fiercely loyal because that was my girl. Like she was my heart. She really was. Like, I loved her. I couldn't have loved her more if she was a sister. Well, she was going through her own things at that time, and she started to pull away, and I didn't quite understand it. This had to be about 12 years ago. And, I was still kind of sort of young, and I didn't really understand how to process that. She was the person that I confided everything in, and, bounced things off of. And, this was my sister, and I was telling my colleague, I said, when that happened, I didn't really know how to process that information. I really didn't, because, literally when you have, your tribe as a woman, you know, if you go through a terrible breakup, or, you know, you're with some crazy dude, and, you know, you get your ass handed to you, you know, you call your girlfriends. They come over with the Haagen-Dazs and the tissues and, you know, the Tito's, and they like, you know, forget that food, blah, blah, blah. And they coax you through it and hold your hand and, you know, tell you that you're worthy and all those kinds of things. But when you have a falling out, a disagreement or a disconnection from your sister friends, who do you call? Like, it's such a solitary and lonely kind of existence. It is really this weird, on my own, as Patti LaBelle saying. I mean, you know, it's so hurtful. It really is. And I don't think that I felt that alone in my entire life. Even, you know, and my divorce took me for a loop. My divorce and my breakup with my ex. Not this last time, because I was kind of anticipating him being a fool. But the first time, because I was so in it and I was so blind and I was so, like, I was just devastated. Even with all of that, none of that compared to the loss of a member of my tribe. So much so until I tend to wear people very, very loosely now. Like, I'm so blessed and I'm so fortunate. You know, y'all know that I just got back from Vegas. Y'all know that I went on this girls trip. I'm going on another trip, you know, with I love them. I do. But unfortunately, there still is a portion of me that is on reserve because of the disappointment, because of, you know, the kind of like that pain that you have when you have a betrayal that's so deep from somebody that you never anticipated, from someone that you never expected. And that's difficult. It's very, very hard. And, you know, I'm really dedicated and focused on working my way through that, but it's not easy because, number one, you can't fake that. Number two, you know, if there's a blockage there, it's going to be limited. You know, I think that, you know, friendships and relationships should be organic. I've always thought that. Like, you can't force somebody to be a friend to you. You can't force somebody to like you. You can't force somebody to, you know, have that kind of synergy. And it's very rare that you come across somebody that you actually have that synergy with. And it's unfortunate because women, and then particularly Black women, we have this horrible reputation of not being able to get along, you know, having this, you know, back and forth from this, you know, whatever. So, you know, while I love my tribe, I do. I love my tribe. I love my sister friends. Shout out to them. They're supportive. They're encouraging. I feel like if I called any one of them, they would listen. Matter of fact, I called one of my girlfriends, you know, this last time this fool handed me my ass, and I actually was more mad at myself than I was hurt. But there was some hurt there, and, you know, she let me call and cry and vent and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that I don't have it. What I am saying is that breach of level of trust and confidence, like, I don't know that you really heal from that totally and completely to be open and vulnerable in a relationship like that again. Because despite what people think, you know, friendships are not just a dime a dozen. They're really not. Your good girlfriends, those relationships are intimate in a way that's not sexual. You know, you have camaraderie, you have confidence, you know, confiding, you know, somebody knows all of your warts or knows where all the bodies are buried. You know what kind of level of trust you got to have with somebody in order to do that? And once that is breached, like, it's so hard to now build that up with someone else, build it up with someone else's. So, you know, I do think that there are a lot of women who are out here who are scarred, whose tribe doesn't resemble what they really want it to resemble. You know, I really hope and pray that at some point I will be completely open and honest and healed enough where I can now say that every member of my tribe is, you know, like has that highest level of, yeah, they would never do that to me. But in the back of my head, I always feel like, I don't know. I just don't know. And it's not an indictment on them. It's really not. It's more me than anything else, because once you've been hurt in that way, once you've been betrayed in that way, once you've had to go through those kinds of things, it's very difficult to now put that aside And again, like I said, build that up with someone else. I don't know. It's just the weirdest dynamic. It really is. But when I was talking to my colleague, she was like, I'm so glad that you talked to me, because I was feeling crazy and nobody really understood what I was talking about. And I said, that's because people have not really had intimate relationships beyond sex. And that's the thing. And the unfortunate thing is that once you've done that, and once you've had that betrayal, no matter where it comes from, whether it's, family, whether it's, good girlfriends or whatever, once you've had that betrayal, it's very, very difficult to pretend like you ain't had it. And to move on in such a way where it doesn't affect you. All of that stuff is really good game that you talk, oh yeah, don't bother me or whatever. Yes, it does. If y'all was really tight, if you was really cool, when somebody betrays you, when someone does something to you that causes a breach, like, you really are looking at, and it's not that you deliberately want people to, like, okay, you got to prove that you could be my girl. Like, that's so crazy. Nobody does that deliberately, I don't think, but you do watch for certain things. You do, kind of file certain things away, certain things that they say, certain, innuendos that they make, certain, certain jokes that they make that may be at your expense, and, the things of that nature. And over time, hopefully, you'll be able to give that person the carte blanche, so to speak, in your life that they deserve, and you deserve, quite frankly. I think that there should be people in your life that you, and here's the other thing too, I want to make sure that I'm clear. Not everybody in your life is going to have the same amount of access, even if you don't have these kind of situations or these kind of issues. There are certain friends that you party with, there are certain friends that you confide in, there are certain friends that you take advice from. Some people can't be trusted to give advice because they make horrible decisions, but they're good people. So, you have to figure out who's who and who presents what in your life. But at the same time, if there's any level of reserve or any ought that you still carry for former relationships, or, any suspicion that you have that you haven't totally let things go and begun the process of healing, I just encourage you today to start thinking about that, journaling about it, praying about it, giving it up bit by bit. There's a Hawaiian practice. I never say this right. Hokopono. Hokopono. I probably butchered that. That sounds crazy. I'll drop it below. Really, it's the art of forgiveness, and it's more of a mantra, and it's just kind of like I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. That kind of thing. And when I first started saying it and doing it, I was like, I ain't doing nothing wrong. So what am I asking for forgiveness for? It really is just a purging. It's a way to get into a meditative state to say, these things are beyond me, perhaps, and despite what we may think, even though, we may not necessarily be at fault, there are certain things that we may do to contribute to relationships and their demise. And that's not all the time, but I'm always open to exploring whether or not I've contributed at some point, any type of way. Like, I never want to be the person that's like, oh, heck no, I ain't do nothing. They did this, that, and the third. So because I'm so introspective, and so because I'm so analytical about relationships, like I told y'all before, I have no idea why, but I am. I do deep dives because I need to do the work. Like, I don't want to be out here emotionally constipated. I don't want to prevent myself from receiving the benefits of good relationships, whether they're intimate relationships, whether they're, sister girl relationships, whether they're personal, professional relationships, whatever it is. Like, I don't want to have those kind of blockages. I really don't. Like, bring me all my stuff. Bring me all my spiritual goods. Bring me all my spiritual blessings. I don't want no blockages nowhere. So I always do an autopsy on things. I always do deep dives. I always do introspective looks. And I always try in my meditation time to at least acknowledge that there's a possibility that I may have done something to facilitate whatever issue that there is. And if I have, let me release that. Let me ask for forgiveness. Let me, be able to move past that and be the best person that I could possibly be. But going back to your tribes, if you analyze your tribe today, and it's not what it is that you think that it should be, and you don't find a sense of fulfillment in your same-sex relationships, your sister girls, your squad, whatever it is that you call it, and it's because of a root cause of betrayal or distrust, or somehow someone was disloyal to you, or whatever, I really, really encourage you to start working through that baggage today, so that you can start to build comprehensive, meaningful relationships with people. Just connectivity on a human level, because it's important and we need that. I'm Felisa. Leave your feedback below. I hope that this vlog has been helpful for you. And I hope that you will at least consider some of the things that I've said today, if not now, in the future. I will talk to y'all later.